Hello. So in case the title of this video isn't obvious enough, I am freezing my eggs, and I made a promise to myself many years ago when I first got my diagnosis of PCOS and endo, and then last year adenomyosis, that I would share the good, bad and indifferent of my day-to-day life with my gynecology health problems. And egg freezing has been something that's been on my mind for possibly nearly 3 years now, and with no help from my gynecologist I decided to take matters into my own hands, and this year I am starting the process of freezing my eggs. I'm actually currently going through it right now. And after I spoke to a fertility doctor and nurses and etc, I went looking, as you do as a 20 something or 30 something year old in the world we live in right now. I went to social media and was like, I'm sure there's someone who's gone through this who could give me a perspective from their view. And I found little to no information on the internet, which is crazy because you can find so much information about goddamn everything these days. But I think it's because gynecology issues, or I don't want to say problems because they're not problems, but you know what I mean, gynecology health is still seen as a taboo, not just only in Ireland but worldwide. And I feel like that's the reason why egg freezing isn't spoken about a lot. So I wanted to make a video. Basically, I'm making the video that I wish I could have seen. And disclaimer, I might say the wrong thing. I'm not like a medical professional. I'm just sharing my experience and my journey in the hopes that it might help someone who is on the fence or a bit unsure or just wants to see what the process entails. Is that the word, entails? Yeah, so this is my video. And I just want to put out there, because I've been sharing the journey so far on my social media, and I feel like a lot of people think I'm freezing my eggs to start IVF immediately, but that is not the case. I do not want a child right now. I'm still really unwell, and what plays on my mind is what my previous UK gynecologist, because he's now retired due to illness, but the first thing he said to me on my phone call was, me having a child right now when I'm still really sick is not only unfair to the child, but it's unfair to me. So right now having a child is a no-no. But this is more of a preservative, if that's the way I want to say it. It's so that when the opportunity does come and I want to have a child, that I'm not left a bit like, oh, you should have froze your eggs when you were younger, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's more of a precaution, help me in a few years time if I might need it or when I might need it kind of situation. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that up because I do feel like, especially a lot of people on Facebook, and I think they're probably like my parents' friends, think that I'm trying to get pregnant now, and I'm like, no, just trying to live. Yeah. And the reason why I'm subsequently freezing my eggs as well is I'm getting my right ovary removed. Now this was supposed to be like maybe next year, a couple of years down the line, whatever, but I've kind of made probably not a hasty decision, because it's been something that's been on my mind for a while now, but my new UK gynecologist was going to inject an anti-adhesion solution into my ovary, both of them actually, to see if that would stop me producing adhesions and stop producing cysts, etc. And last week, I think it was last week, I kind of just, I think my mental health has reached a point where, oh god, I don't want to cry, but I think my mental health has like reached a point where if I go through this surgery, because it's a surgery, it's not an injection, like it's not just like whoop, inject, done. I actually have to have another laparoscopy to have this injection into my ovaries. But I think I've reached a point where, oh my god, I don't want to be as sick as I am right now this time next year, and I'm afraid that those injections won't work, and I genuinely don't think I could do another year of being in this amount of pain. Like my right ovary is my most problematic ovary. Every gynecologist that I've ever spoken to has told me that, but they've never actually been like, okay, we can actually remove that and freeze it. Like it's not a big deal, until I met my new UK doctor, and it was more reassuring to make this decision, if that makes sense. So the fact that I can freeze my right ovary was like, okay, that's not as severe, as dramatic as I was expecting it to be. And then also the fact that I am freezing my eggs as well. So I have like 2 insurance plans. So that's making the decision of removing my right ovary a lot easier. It's not to say that it's still not going to be an emotional journey. Like, anyone that has PCOS, endo or adenomyosis will know the pain that you go through with the fear of being infertile or having fertility issues. It plagues my mind every day. But yeah, okay, I'm not gonna get all too emotional, but yeah, I need to take a moment, but then I will tell you about the process so far in the egg freezing journey. One moment. Okay, I'm back. I've taken a breather. I'm all ready to go again. Okay, so when did I start the process? I'm trying to like remember everything because so much has happened in the last few weeks. So the very first thing I had to get done was an AMH blood test, and the AMH blood test is to see how many follicles you have. The average, the nurse was like, I hate using the word average, but the average woman would have somewhere between 0.4 and 4, and she was like, you might have a little bit of a higher number than that. Now in my head I was like, oh, maybe 6. Like I was like, oh, 6 grand. Yeah, my number was 37.5, but my fertility doctor quickly, and I instantly when I heard 37.5 I was like, oh, that's really good. And she's like, oh no, that's only high because you've got PCOS and that doesn't mean you're fertile. And I was like, oh, sound, thanks, but that doesn't mean I'm infertile. And I was like, okay, grand, no problem. She just means that like obviously with the PCOS I'm producing more, but that doesn't mean like out of all 37.5 only one of them might be worthwhile. But she was like, yep, that's it, it's a good number, I'm happy to go ahead with that. And I was like, grand, perfect, fab. So then, and she like spoke me through the whole process, and I suppose I have a bit of an unfair advantage, or a fair advantage, whatever way you look at it. I'm actually an IVF baby myself. My parents went through the process 3 times. I was the second trial, the second IVF treatment process. Yeah, you get me. So my mom had kind of already prepared me for like what was ahead for me and what to expect. But she's like, obviously treatments have changed since 29 years ago. So my mom was like, some of the medications the same, but I think like some things might be different. So then the fertility doctor, yeah, she explained what was going on. She showed me videos, she talked me through everything, and if I had any questions. So that was great, really reassuring. And I told her that I had endometriosis, adenomyosis, and obviously she knew about the PCOS, and she was like, making me aware of that is very beneficial at the very beginning of the process. And I also had it on my application as well, because like a lot of people that start fertility treatments or go into fertility treatments because they can't get pregnant naturally only find out then that they have like endo or adeno or PCOS, as whereas I'm going in straight away like, here, I have these, I know I have these, I've been struggling for 20 years with pain. And she's like, that's really beneficial for them in how to proceed with my treatment plan. So the next thing I had to get done was a transvaginal ultrasound and more blood tests, which was a full blood count to make sure that I'm like fit and healthy. And my endo and adeno warriors will know transvaginal scans are not comfortable, they're not pleasant, they're not the nicest. But the first one I had no cysts, I was fine. I was like, oh my god, happy days, brilliant. And the reason why you have to have a transvaginal scan is because they need to make sure they have a clear entry point on the day of egg retrieval, and that there's no obstructions or nothing that might cause it to be more difficult to retrieve eggs on the day. So that was grand. The blood count came back perfect. She was like, well, perfect. On paper I looked okay, but like anyone who has my conditions know that nothing shows up on bloods. So I might look okay on paper, and he looked at me, he'd be like, that's not the same person I'm seeing right here in front of me. And she said obviously the scans came back okay, so we can proceed. So then the next step I had to do was sign loads of consent forms, watch all these videos about the process, and I kid you not, my mental health was like, woo. Ooh. It was a roller coaster because there was like, I think it was just information overload, and I think I just wanted to jump straight in. I was like, yes, watch all these videos at once. Big mistake. My piece of advice would be is to maybe watch 2 or 3 parts of it in one go, come back a few hours later, the next day, whatever. I watched it all in one go and freaked the hell out of myself, especially when it came to no, what was it? OHSS, over, or is it HOSS? Hyper over, anyway, OHSS or HOSS? Overstimulate, you know what I'm on about anyway. Ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. There we go. OHSS. Brain fog. But that freaked me out, and like I was like, I do not need another syndrome, I do not need another condition, I do not need anything to go wrong. But that broke me down. I was crying. I was like, oh my god, why am I doing this? And then like a couple of people messaged me and were like, Sarah Jane, think of the end goal, think of why you're doing this. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I'm fine. And then the other thing that got me was Declan and I had spoken about the fact that, touch wood, if anything ever happened to me and I was no longer here, I would love for him to have access to use my eggs to have a child. Surrogacy is currently illegal in Ireland, therefore he has no access to my eggs, even though he had to sign the consent forms as well. Anywho, and I like they rang me to explain that to me, and I was like, oh feck it, I should have known that. So I signed, like the options were that your eggs go to like science for testing stuff, or they go to the bin. And I was like, sorry, I've paid a hell of a lot of money. These eggs are not going to the bin, they're going to science, thank you very much. But they said if surrogacy becomes legal in Ireland in the next few years, they'll resend out a consent form and Declan will have access to the eggs. Fingers crossed. But hopefully I don't die and he doesn't need to do that. I'll still be here. So that was grand. And then I had to have, what was next? So the consent forms. Oh yeah, so then I needed to have another transvaginal ultrasound and blood tests done. And the reason why, like, this was literally like, so actually scrap that. I had a doctor's call and she said ready to go ahead with the egg freezing process. You look healthy on paper, grand, no problem. And then she's like, you have to have a scan done before we start the injections, because with your conditions I just want to make sure that there's absolutely nothing there that could cause a problem. That's grand. I go into the scan and the minute the nurse puts the probe up, I see a black thing in the middle of my abdomen, and I was trying not to cry. So last Wednesday I had the scan and she said I had a massive cyst on my right ovary, and then when she turned it around there was a smaller one behind it, and she said that they looked like endometriota, but also there was a couple of other smaller ones that looked like endometriota. And my left one perfectly fine, but the problem is that how big the cyst was on the day of egg retrieval. If they went ahead with the left one, it could hit off of it and cause it to rupture and bleed. And she's like, I can't make a decision on that. She took loads of photos and sent them to the fertility doctors, and they were to make the final call. I left that clinic crying. I was like, that's it now, it's on hold now for another couple of months. I have to have surgery to get these removed, blah 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 blah. So I came home, I was heartbroken, like absolutely heartbroken. And the nurse called and she was like, the doctors are happy to proceed, your left one looks fine, probably won't be able to retrieve from your right ovary, but we can retrieve from your left ovary, and we're just going to give you more medication in case a bleed does happen. I sobbed. I was like, what? Like I cannot explain the emotions that I went through on that, like last Wednesday. It was insane. And then the doctor rang me on Friday, explained the whole thing again. She was like, look, it was a risk we were going to have to take with you, because if we postponed it, so say we can't do it this month, on this cycle, and we're like, we'll do it in May. What's not to say that you will not have more cysts, or we're in the exact same situation. She's like, this was a risk we knew going in with you, and it's a risk we're going to have to take. And she's like, the best thing that we can hope for is that the cyst A disappears itself, or B, it does not move, and we can retract, whatever, from the leftover. And I was like, perfect. But she said to me, I have to get them looked at afterwards, which I kind of knew was coming up. So I'm looking like I'm going to be having a laparoscopy sometime soon to remove those cysts. Love that for me. So yeah, then it was just a waiting game for my period to arrive. And then my period arrived on Friday evening, but because the clinic closed at the weekend, I had to wait until today. And then I had a nurse ring me this morning, and she talked me through what injections I have to start. So this evening up until Thursday evening after 5:30, I have to take one injection. I'm not going to pronounce the name because I'm going to screw that up, but I will take a video of the process and show you what I'm going through. And then on Friday morning before 10:30, I have to take the second injection, and then in the evening on the Friday I have to continue with the other injection. And then on next Monday I have to go back for another transvaginal scan and blood tests to see how I'm doing. That's the tea at the moment. I am in agony. I have never been as unwell as I have been the past few weeks, but in the last few days it's gotten significantly worse because of the cyst. I've been practically bedbound. I'm depending on my glam stick so much. But yeah, I'm just praying I can get through the next 10 to 12 days and hope it's worthwhile. And yeah, sorry if this is information overload, but yeah, let's get this process started. Woo!
Syringes directly into the sharps bin that the pharmacy would have provided for you. So you can now store your little vial of Menopur safely, as you will be using this throughout your cycle.
Okay.
And
You're not looking forward to this at all.
this for the Menopur injection. If you have any other questions for us about this medication, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you.
Okay.
Will I record it like this for the gram as well?
No,
No.
it's going to make it far too difficult because you're going to have to hold the skin as well.
I think Declan's a bit more afraid of injecting me than I am of the needle.
Okay, you're going to feel a short, sharp.
Yeah, I know. Now at 90 degrees.
That's 90 degrees, isn't it?
Yeah. All done.
Ooh. Do you want a cotton swab?
No, I'm not bleeding, look.
Okay.
All done.
Hopefully that was okay.
Woo!
How can we know where you... Oh, there'll be a mark tomorrow.
There'll be a mark tomorrow. Woo! We were actually supposed to be in Rome this week, and the ladies in the fertility clinic told me to get a cool bag. Now, I actually don't need the cool box in it at the moment because nothing actually needs to be refrigerated, but Declan has booked us a couple of nights away down the south of Ireland in Wexford, so I just have packed everything. Woo, I can't open it now, typical. everything I need. So my injections, paracetamol, I think the medicine is somewhere in there. It's a little small little file. Oh yeah, in there. And the sharps bin. Yeah, ready to go. I got the bag in Yisk or Jisk, however you want to call it. Well, Mum bought it for me, but yeah, travel medication bag. Woo! This is possibly the most unflattering angle, but I'm working at the moment and I didn't have time to set up my tripod, so if you're sitting on my pencil case right now. But I wanted to give a quick update because it has now been a week and a day since I started the injections, and then it has been 5 days since I have started the second injection. So I have one in the morning and one in the evening. The one in the morning I take sometime between 7:30 and 8:30, and then the one in the evening I take roughly around 6, 6:30 every day. It is getting harder. I'm feeling every bit of the injection now because I can only do it on the left side of my body due to the cysts on the right side. Like if I even touch the right side of my body, I get like electrocuted with the pain. So we decided, look, stick to the left side. I'm running out of space because there's literally like poke holes everywhere now, and I am bruising a lot, and on Saturday morning I began to bleed, but Declan googled it. Thanks Google. And it seemed that he hit a blood vessel. Was it a blood vessel? Yeah, when he injected, which is completely normal to do because of the amount of injections I am taking. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, a pincushion at the moment. I had my first transvaginal scan since starting the injections yesterday morning at 8 AM. Didn't go as great as I was expecting. My cysts are still there, woo! But I only have around 3 eggs that are of good size. I have about 6 to 9 that are much smaller. So they were a little bit disappointed with that. For my age, I should have had somewhere between 10 to 15. From my understanding, I believe she meant 10 to 15 per ovary. But I think my right ovary is completely inactive because she didn't show me anything from my right ovary. It was all from my left ovary. So I think even the fact that I'm getting my right ovary out has no difference in my fertility at all, because it seems like all the action is coming from my left ovary at the moment. They rang me back yesterday and they have upped my dosage of Menopur. It's really weird that the name is Menopur and it's very near the word menopause because it's doing the exact opposite of what the menopause does. Is that just me? Maybe that's just me overthinking. But yeah, Menopur. I was taking 150 mg. I'm now taking 300 mg. And I could feel yesterday when we started taking the 300 the difference. Oh, there's work. Oh. I could feel the difference in the dosage. Like I could actually feel every bit of it going into my stomach, and I'm losing weight because I'm not able to eat as much, so I'm obviously, like, my stomach is a lot less swollen than it would have normally been, so I'm definitely feeling every bit of it, which is not the best, but sure, look, what can I do? I have another scan tomorrow to see how those 3 eggs are doing, and if I have any more, fingers crossed, and all going well, if I do have more, so like say some miracle happens and I have like 6 or 8 even tomorrow, they might decide on Friday to remove them, which in an ideal world I would love, because I'm really struggling with the pain of these cysts that I'm having now. As you can see, I'm working from bed today. Yeah, but anyway, that's my update. Fingers crossed tomorrow goes a lot better than yesterday did. Yeah, almost through the egg freezing cycle. I might potentially have to do another one, but here's hoping I don't. Please, please, guardian angel, help. Hello. It has been 12 days of my egg freezing cycle process. etc, etc, whatever you like to call it. And I think on my last update was explaining that I only have 3 eggs on my left ovary. My right ovary looks like it's not doing anything, and then they asked me to up my medication and then go for a scan on Wednesday. Not much had changed. They told me to continue with the medication until today, and then this morning I went and had another scan, and again not much had really changed apart from the fact that one of those 3 eggs had gotten too big at this point, meaning that naturally I was going to lose it in the next like 24 to 48 hours. And that the 6 to 8 smaller ones, they looked okay, but not the kind of size that they would like for my age for the process. So I'm trying not to get upset. I've been crying literally since the doctor called me. The doctor called me about an hour ago and has declared that this egg freezing cycle has been a failed cycle. So they're going to cancel it. So I'm to stop all medication. I should naturally go into ovulation in the next few days. Yeah, it was basically down to the fact that my ovaries aren't responding the way they should be for someone my age, but then it's 100% down to my conditions. She said with PCOS there's a 50-50 chance your ovaries will respond to egg freezing medication. It either will or it won't, or sometimes it might not do it as nice as they would have preferred. And then obviously with the endo and adenomyosis, there wasn't a good supply of blood flow around my abdomen and several other things, and yeah, with having the cysts also definitely played a factor, I'm assuming. So yeah, she's decided to cancel this cycle, but she would like me to do another one in my next cycle. Now I was literally trying to hold it together on the phone, so I never actually asked her if I need to have the cysts removed before I do the next cycle, but I've asked on the portal and the nurses will get back to me. Sorry, my Slack is going mental. But yeah, the nurses will get back to me about the update. It also plays into the factor that I don't know if I have to pay more money for it and stuff, and if that's the case I'm a bit skeptical, because if it's going to be the same result again, to be told there's not much else they can do, that's €6,000. I know VHI have covered some of it, but like that's a lot of money to be told no, there's nothing we can do for you. Yeah, my biggest regret is that I actually didn't do this process sooner. It might have been a lot different. Sorry, but yeah, my biggest regret is that I didn't go through the egg freezing process a lot sooner, because I feel like if I had done this when I was younger, the outcome could have been a lot different. The other regret is that if I had got my diagnoses, I don't know if that's the word, but if I was told I had PCOS, endo and adeno when I was a teenager, my life might have been a lot different. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I think I've composed myself now. But yeah, so that is my journey at the moment. I did say I like to share the good, the bad, the in-betweens, the ups and downs. And like I literally just received this news an hour ago, so it's still a lot to process. But the next steps are, I suppose, waiting to hear what the nurses say about, do I need to have the cyst removed, or do they think we could go ahead, blah blah. Personally, I feel like my body is fighting so much at the moment that I think that probably played a huge factor in the process, and I feel like if they weren't there it might have gone a little different. I don't know, it could have been the same, but like the fact that I was only able to really inject on the left side of my body because I couldn't touch the right side of my body could have been a huge factor as well. Like I'm in agony. Like so much pain. God, I hate to be crying on YouTube. But I'm in so much pain. Like even yesterday I was bedbound and I was at a meeting and I thought I was going to pass out. I'm literally looking at the clock being like, when can I take paracetamol? I can take tramadol again. Woo. So sound like a drug addict. But it's just, yeah, I think my body is going through so much right now. But yeah, I know my left ovary is fighting for me so much. I'm so proud of it. My goddamn right ovary, I hate it and I cannot wait to get it out. I'll bury it. But yeah, that is my journey at the moment. And here's hoping maybe my next cycle, if I decide to go ahead with it, is a lot better. But yeah, thank you everyone for your love and support. Yeah, I'm actually overwhelmed with the amount of love and support I've received. Like, I always have this incredible amount of love and support around me throughout my ups and my downs, but whenever I'm going through a struggle like this, it just reminds me that I'm so blessed with my friends, my family, my work family. Everyone's just been amazing. But yeah, I'm going to go now and cry. But yeah, I'll chat to you all soon.